All right, so we are going to do the Be Kind keychain from Bam Blanks. So for this one, you are going to need a couple pair of pliers to attach your key ring at the end. We are going to use Night at the Oscars glitter. You can use whatever you have on hand. You can even use what came in your box. It's completely up to you. I have a vinyl scraping tool so that I can get the adhesive off of the blank. I have a little tiny piece of sandpaper. I happen to have 220. You can use anything from 180 to 220. I like to sand my blanks before I add my glitter and my resin because it really provides a nice tight seal to them. We're going to use our silicone brush for spreading. You can use one source of heat. It can be either a lighter like this, or it can be a blowtorch like this. I'm going to show you the difference between the two and which one I prefer for this type of project. Obviously, we'll be curing with the Magicure lamp, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and remove the backing from my blank. Now, one thing I want to tell you is you need to figure out which side this goes on. So you'll want to match this up and see which direction this matches up to, because what we're going to do is we are going to glitter that side. So if you can see right here, the bottom of the K and the bottom of the D match the shape right here. If I turn it over and it's backwards, it's not going to fit right. So make sure that you're working on the right one. That's a very, very important part of this. We are going to take our vinyl scraping tool and we are going to just kind of pull up the corner here like this. This just allows me to get that vinyl adhesive up without digging too much into the blank itself. Then we're going to go ahead and peel this up. And you're going to take it all the way off. We're going to leave the one on the back. The one on the back is going to protect it in case there's any overrun or anything like that. So we've got this nice shiny blank canvas here to work with. Now we're going to take our sandpaper and we are just going to roughen up the surface. You don't have to go too crazy on it. Just make sure you're getting the edges and just take away that shine. We're going to take it down to a dull finish. Just like that. Now we're going to take a paper towel and just wipe off any of that dust. We want to make sure that it's nice and clean before we add anything to it. All right, so now it's time to get your resin and your glitter ready. So we are now going to go ahead and add our resin to this. I am going to fill my cup up about a little bit over halfway. And then we are going to add our glitter to it. I am adding Night at the Oscars, and you want to tread lightly because it comes out really, really fast. And what I like to do when I'm using a dot mix is add a little bit of microfine in there just to give it a little bit of extra coverage. So for that, I am actually going to add in Frosty, which is a super sparkle iridescent. So we're going to add that in there. And that just fills in any of the blank spots that might come up when you are mixing this. Now I'm going to take my silicone brush and we are going to mix this together really, really well. And you're going to really see that sparkle coming through in that frosty glitter. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorites. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and add this to the blank. I always add my resin to the middle of the blank. That way I have a little bit more control over it so I don't worry about it running over. But we are going to go ahead and move it from the middle to the edge. And remember, this is self-leveling. So not a ton of work that you have to do in terms of getting a nice even coat on here. You're just going to gently move your silicone brush and you're going to put that resin wherever you feel it works best. Now you don't want your coat to be too thick. If your coat is too thick, you're going to have a little bit of trouble getting the hook for the keychain through that hole. So just make sure that you are staying away from the hole the best you can and continuing to spread that resin across the blank. All right, now this looks pretty even from top to bottom. I'm just gonna take my silicone brush and I'm gonna pick up just a little bit of, not super chunky, just more of the iridescent glitter. And I'm just gonna tap it along the top of the hole. We don't want to fill that hole in. So it's just very, very light coat. So I'm gonna set this down. Now, you're going to have some bubbles. When you've mixed your glitter in, you're always gonna have some bubbles. So that's where the heat comes into play. So I like using a mini blowtorch for this process because what it does is it adds a little bit of force, a little bit of pressure when you're taking those bubbles out. And I just do quick clicks. So just quick clicks will get rid of any of those surface bubbles. And you don't want to use too much heat because if you're using too much heat, the problem that you'll run into is that it makes the resin really runny and then it's going to cover up that hole. So try not to use as much heat, just a little bit, couple quick clicks. You can let it rest for about 5 or 10 minutes if you want to. I usually do that on the final coat though, not on the initial coat. We're going to move the Magic Cure over. I'm going to adjust my wattage. So we're going to turn on our lamp. And I'm gonna adjust my wattage to 24, and we are going to go ahead and do 60 seconds. All right, so we've done about 60 seconds and it is cured completely. It is solid. It's got the perfect background. I'm so excited about this one, it's so cute. So it's got the perfect background. I went ahead and I cured my tools at the same time, just to make cleanup a little bit easier. So I can just peel everything out, makes it super, super easy. All right, so now it's time to apply our blank. So let's check our hole, make sure that we didn't get any resin in there. Nope, looks good. As long as you follow that technique, you shouldn't have any problem at all. So let's go ahead and apply our blank. Now, if you have transfer tape or transfer paper, it works really, really well. If not, I'm gonna show you how to do it without. So all you want to do is line up your blank with the decal. So in this case, we're going to hold it up here, just like this, and make sure that it lines up so that there's a little bit of a border right here, right there. And then we are going to unleash it and then just press it down. Now you can move it up a little bit if you want to, but I like to keep this area open because when I'm doing my final coat, I want to make sure I can seal all the way around it. So go ahead, press that decal down so that we can seal it up. You don't want any air pockets in there. So if you have a burnishing tool, you can use that, or you can simply just press and go, which is what I'm doing right now. So now we're going to go ahead and we are going to add our final coat to this, to seal this up and make it nice and pretty. So we're gonna take our resin rockers and we're gonna add just a little bit of resin across like this in the middle of that decal. And then we're going to use our silicone brush to move that resin around where we want it to go. Now we want this to take it from the middle to the edge to make it nice and clean, so that when we cure it, we don't have to worry too much about bubbles. So let's take our silicone brush and we are going to push that resin to the edge of the blank. I recommend not warming your resin before this step because you want it to be a little bit thicker. It makes it a lot easier to move it to the edge without it running over. Now you can, if you happen to make it run over, you can trim it with flush cutters, just like these, like mini scissors. So don't worry too much, and the back protectant will keep you from getting resin on the back, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. So we are going to go ahead and do this all the way around the blank. Now, once you feel like you've gotten it all the way around the edge, you're going to add a little bit more to the middle, not a ton, just a little bit, in case you see any low spots. Even that out, and then do the same thing at the top where the keyhole ring is. Take a little bit of resin and just tap it along that edge. Now, make sure you're checking your blank from the side. If you see any low spots, make sure that you add a little bit of resin, tap it to the edge. That's an important indicator that you need a little bit more resin, or at least need to move it to the edge. But we're gonna do quick clicks with the torch all the way around. This looks really, really nice. So now I'm gonna let this rest for about 2 or 3 minutes, come back and check it for bubbles. Sometimes resin likes to seep underneath the decal and that will create an air pocket. So any of those that may try to make their way to the surface during the curing time may leave a pit or a bubble, and we don't want that. So I always try to let my blanks rest for about at least 2 to 3 minutes if I'm in a hurry, but ideally 10 minutes or so. So let's come back. All right, so it's been 2 to 3 minutes. I am checking it one last time with the torch. I don't see any bubbles popping. So I'm going to move my magic cure over my blank, and I'm going to let it rest under my lamp for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to cure it at the 24 watts for about 60 seconds. All right, I've got it at 24 watts. Let's go ahead and do 60 seconds. All right, let's take a peek. It looks so pretty. Look at that resin rocker shine. You cannot get over that. I love it with the magic cure lamp. It's so awesome. So now, before we add our hardware, we're gonna go ahead and we are going to take off that protective backing. So let's go ahead and do that. We're just going to pull it up a little bit right there. And these work really, really well if you are worried about scratching. It just prevents the scratching. You can use a weeding tool, you just have to be careful not to scratch your piece. So we're gonna go ahead, this is the fun part because it's gonna reveal how that glitter looks. It's so pretty. So you're gonna go ahead and peel that off. And this is what the back looks like. So this is the back, this is the front. And if you have any that run over, any run edge right there, you can use your flush cutters like this and just snip it away like that. So let's go ahead and add our hardware. All right, so I'm taking my jump ring, I'm adding it to the top of the blank, and then we're going to add our charm in there. Now you can add your charm to the actual top of the keychain if you want to, or you can add it to the key ring itself. It's completely up to you. You can also add it to one of the rings here if you want it to be a little bit farther. We're gonna take our other pair of pliers here, and we are going to squeeze that jump ring together. And there is your finished Be Kind keychain. So cute. I love this. I think people are going to love this one. And we will have extra kits available in the shop if you want to make more.